For skill practice 4, I'm going to use a calculator again to approximate either to 1 decimal or 4, depending on if I'm in degree or radian, but I'm subject to certain conditions. So I'm in a different zone for these sine and tangent values. For the sine of theta equal to -3/7, what quadrant am I in? So think about sine. -3/7 means your y is a -3/7, and I'm talking about from 180 degrees to 270 degrees. So I'm here, and my sine of theta equals -3/7. So what I want to do is I want to find the inverse sine of -3/7 to figure out what theta is. I'm going to be doing degrees because this measurement is given in degrees. We get a value of -25.4 degrees, which is in the 4th quadrant. And these two angles are the same measure. This is also 25.4 degrees. This is 25.4 degrees. Not 25.4 degrees from standard position, but the angle from the horizontal axis is 25.4 degrees. Ignoring the clockwise, counterclockwise, they are the same measure value. That's the main thing. In order to find from the 0 horizontal axis standard starting initial side up to that angle right here in the 3rd quadrant, we're going to take 180 degrees plus 25.4 degrees. That's going to give us 205.4 degrees. For part B, we are asked to find the tangent of theta where that is equal to -8/3, and we are to be between pi/2 and pi, which is in the 2nd quadrant. We're looking for some value in the 2nd quadrant. Now in your calculator, if you do inverse tangent of -8/3, you get a theta value of -1.212. That's a 4th quadrant angle because this is in radians, and so we're here, that's not quite pi/2. This is going to be that value of -1.212. This is the same angle in the 1st quadrant of 1.212. And so this is also 1.212. So what we could do to find that angle measure is take pi minus 1.212, which is 1.9296. As we're approaching the cosine of the inverse cosine, we need to consider what the restrictions are on each function and what the domains are of the functions in order to find appropriate answers. Cosine of the inverse cosine is equal to the input. So this means that the cosine of the inverse of x is equal to x as long as it's within this restriction right here from -1 to 1. That means that this is going to be the cosine of the cosine inverse of -1 is going to be equal to -1, and that fits into our restrictions of x. For B, the inverse cosine of the cosine of x is equal to x from 0 to pi. Looking at this, then our 4pi/3 doesn't work in our 0 to pi. So what is the value that's going to work for us that's in between 0 and pi? Where is 4pi/3? 4pi/3 is right here. And so the cosine, this means that cosine is negative, so the cosine that's going to work is going to be in the 2nd quadrant where it's also negative, or 2pi/3. So that is 2pi/3 here.